Oh, this is no good. It's impossible to cross to the engine room. Oh, think, Ash. Pikachu, give my brain a jump start. Oh, thanks. That's just what I needed. Now, let's listen to the podcast. Hey, I'm Veronica Taylor.
And I'm Rena Taylor.
And this is
The Trainer's Guide. Today's episode,
Pokémon Shipwreck. I can't believe we're here at, episode 16.
Episode 16.
Amazing.
I know. It's pretty crazy.
It is.
Things are getting juicy.
Juicy? I feel like it's scary.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but it's just like really intense.
Very intense, very blue.
Each episode now is really chock full of stuff.
And danger and, I don't even know what else. It's just so wild.
Agreed.
And there's a lot of near-death, almost death, crazy blueness in this because they're sad and people look like they're almost drowning.
Yes, you're right. I know. It's a very intense episode in the fact that everybody's getting near-death experiences.
Mm-hmm.
So it's quite serious in terms of a children's show. But also, something that I'm pretty amazed at is that this is not just a two-parter, but a three-parter.
Exactly.
We're left on yet another cliffhanger.
Tenterhooks.
It's crazy.
Well, let's get into what happens in this episode.
Okay.
First of all, we open with a funeral at sea with Officer Jenny and all of the cadets, who are men, standing behind her in uniform, mourning the loss of 5, not including Meowth or Pikachu, really, of 5 humans lost at sea.
I know.
And they acknowledged that the captain's counting didn't work.
Right.
We thought we got everyone off the ship, but we didn't.
Yeah, I do like that. And then they kind of give them a burial at sea. A little send-off.
Tossing the flowers overboard. I really thought for the dramaticness of it that they would, as they tossed the flowers over and they just wafted down into the depths, that they would break up and float apart. But they didn't.
Ooh.
They stayed together, which I think is emblematic of all of our heroes on this. They stay together.
Yeah.
I don't want to give too much away.
Not yet.
But that bouquet of flowers floating down leads us to the St. Anne wedged in a crevasse underwater. And
and I think it's also interesting that there's air in there. Like, it's not all water yet,
but it hasn't
filled up.
Right, because it hasn't filled with water because there were no holes, I guess, yet.
I know. I just find that pretty amazing because I would imagine, in general, when you think of a sinking ship, that literally went upside down and somehow got right side up. Oh, no, it's still upside down.
Now, remember...
It got upside down.
Yes, but remember
when
we went on that scuba diving cycling thing in Hawaii? It was
the scuba scooter.
Scooter, that's it. So there's that helmet, essentially, that goes around you. And we had to kind of swim in and under it. And it had water in it the whole time. It had air in it the whole time.
That's true.
So even though the bottom was open, we could still breathe and the oxygen stayed in, much like how it's staying in the St. Anne, I think.
Yeah. And I mean, I think in the scuba scooter, it was being pumped with oxygen still.
Oh, maybe it was.
Still, yeah, because it was like you were like scuba diving, except instead of wearing the mask, you just had that big helmet on.
I don't think I knew that.
I think that's what I thought.
I forgot about that. Okay, but either way, the oxygen stays in.
There could still be stuff because some of the lights are still on in the ship.
That's right. And there's fire. So fire needs oxygen to burn. And so that's something we learn in science class. And we learned this on the ship.
Just like the scuba scooter.
Exactly, but no fire there. So the ship is
we'll have
wedged.
to post a photo somewhere of our scuba scooter.
Okay, that's a good idea. And we have to do that again. Anyway, the ship is wedged in upside down. And
yes,
Misty and Brock are awake, and they have to wake up a heavily sleeping Ash, who is sleeping somehow on a couch upside down while they are standing on the ceiling.
Yeah, because his belt buckle or something is stuck on the couch.
Oh, that's what's keeping him there. I didn't realize that.
But I don't know how I don't know if he's hanging there the whole time either.
And even
I mean, it's classic. That's a classic thing where you cartoon thing where you wake up upside down and you go, what? And you see everything upside down and you go, ah, and then you fall.
And interestingly,
Classic.
When he runs over to the window to see the fish swimming by, the curtains are in their exact right hanging way, even though they're upside down. I love this. Anyway,
Amazing.
Then we switch
Movie
over.
magic.
It is. We switch to Jesse and James. Classic. Hallucinating on the beach, dreaming of the perfect day.
And a warm sun.
Very warm
hitting
sun.
Hitting their skin.
Super warm sun. Very hot sun.
And we find out it's the fire from the stove or something.
They're on fire.
Yeah, they're on fire.
So they have to run and put that out with water that comes out from something. So we have to...
A pipe.
Yes.
A pipe has leaked.
And yet it's not filling up the room.
Yeah.
But we have to
We've got to suspend
all disbelief.
Right. We do. So and then they decide to go, this is something that I found really interesting that we were talking about a little while ago, that in this episode, we really find out that all of these characters are still pretty young because they just jump to conclusions and they just do stuff before they really think about it. Right. Same thing with last week's episode where Ash kind of does the trade without really thinking about it. Jesse and James leave and they go, we're trapped here. I know what. Get Ekans to do his poison slime or something and get a hole in the ship.
Right. Open a hole in the floor.
Wait.
Let's get out.
Wait.
Yeah.
And then all this water comes and they almost drown.
Yeah, because
which
they're
is
stuck.
the first time.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So I just think it's crazy that in this episode, and then basically, so they almost drown and we meet back up with them. Ash, Misty, and Brock are trying to find a way out. And they get to this part that's flooded. And then Jesse and James float up to the top.
Right before.
And they have to get them out.
But that's because Goldine went in to rescue them.
Yes,
so
you're right.
Misty decides that she knows a way. They have to figure out a plan to get to, they have this whole plan of if we dive down, so the ship's upside down, if we dive down to the deck, we can get out that way. And so she decides to send Goldine down to see if there's, I don't know how Goldine will tell them, but, Pokemon and their trainers have a way of speaking and understanding. So she sends Goldine down to go up, down, and Goldine shockingly finds Team Rocket and Meowth quite blue in the water. And I don't know what's the term of how Goldine just them out. Like
it must have maybe bubbles or something that it can push.
Like headbutt or something.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Somehow it brings them to the surface. Yeah. It brings them back to Ash, Misty, and Brock. And then, so Team Rocket are rescued. And then all of a sudden they go, oh, it's you. And they try to battle. They try to do a Pokemon battle.
And immediately try to battle, which is insane. And they all go, okay, let's do this.
Except for Misty.
Who is totally the voice of reason in this entire episode. She knows everything.
She is hitting her stride. Mm-hmm. This is totally the Misty representation that we needed. And I feel like
who she really is. She has studied so many things. She knows so much. And they're in the water.
I know. It's literally her thing.
Yes.
So anyway, they're trying to battle. But as they're doing that with the Pokemon out, it's too heavy. And so the ship is teetering back and forth.
Right.
Because of the weight.
Exactly.
So they have to call off the battle and decide to work together so that they can kind of balance out the ship.
Yeah, so they keep
out.
That's one of my favorite parts of this episode, where they have the ship is tilting back and forth, so they send some of them to one end, bring some of them back, and they keep going. What's interesting is Misty has an idea of what to do because she's built a model of the Saint Anne.
Right.
And that's incredible.
Who expected that?
No. And that they would end up going on it.
Well, that's what I also find so interesting is that in last week's episode, they all knew that they were going on the St. Anne, and she never said anything about it then.
Right.
She only says it now.
Yeah, she could have said, this is my favorite. This has always been my favorite ship, or anything.
Yeah, or I can't believe we're going on the St. Anne. I built a model of it.
Well,
anything.
I guess if when you're little, you do some model airplanes, and then you eventually go on an airplane. Or what about everybody building with Legos? Star Wars.
Totally.
Ships.
They go on
spaceship, whatever. All of those.
Yeah.
They could do all of that. Or what if I don't even know. My mind can't even settle on something
they go
outrageous.
On the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
Falcon.
A land cruiser.
Disneyland.
Yes, any of those. Anyway, this is the same type of thing. But
totally.
Maybe everybody knows you could go on the St. Anne because that's what Pokemon trainers do. Anyway, she knows what's going on. So she says, this is how we can get out. Let's follow this way. We can go to the hull of the ship.
Yep.
And I know where the hull is the thinnest. So we can cut our way out and escape. Not thinking about water rushing in or anything. Let's just go cut the hull and escape, which is a pretty good idea ultimately.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
So,
but as they're trying to get to the hull, we reach more fire.
Oh, that's right. This inferno.
And this is and they can't, the way across is blocked. First of all, everything's upside down. So the staircase that joins the whatever is broken. And there's flames underneath. And I thought, because in the beginning, Brock uses Geodude as a staircase.
That's right.
And he gets Geodude to connect, and they use him as a staircase. So I thought they were going to get Geodude again to connect these two. The two little balconies. But instead, Ash calls Bulbasaur to use his vines.
Its vines.
Okay, to use its vines.
Wait, was it?
And they cross on it.
Was it Geodude or Onyx?
It's whichever one is the big one.
I think it might have been Onyx. But either way, it's like walking up someone's spine.
Yeah, Geodude is the small one.
I think it's Onyx, just to be really perfectly clear. The thing is...
Sorry, everybody.
I'm just pointing it out because I don't want anyone to send us a letter that...
I know.
But anyway.
No hate mail.
No, not for that. The point is, they're both gray. For this, every Pokemon does its part to help save. Everybody has to work together in this episode. You have to put your thoughts together, your brawn together, and your Pokemon together to think of a way to get out, which I think is really amazing.
Liked.
Okay, so Bulbasaur, the vine
I can't
bridge.
Bulbasaur uses its vines, and they just, Ash, Misty, and Brock are like, perfect, and they just cross.
Right.
Can you believe that? They just cross it so easily.
Well, it's double.
Meanwhile,
so they walk a double tightrope.
It's a tightrope. There was not even any kind of hesitation. They just go, awesome, and just walk out on it.
I know.
There's been more tension when they cross a bridge.
You're right.
In the episodes.
They are always crossing something, which is another deep meaning of you have to go beyond your comfort zone to try to achieve something. In this case, saving their lives. But there's always a moment where they need to cross. And this is very much so.
And the bridges, I think you could even go one step further and say that it's a symbol of trust.
Good point.
And they're stepping out into this unknown, and they have to trust that they're going to, be caught. In this case, they're caught by Bulbasaur. So, it's really trust.
Right.
But the ones who don't have trust are Jesse and James.
Right.
Who I will say, this is my favorite part when they're like, oh, and James goes, just cross without me, whatever. And they go, oh, remember me. And Jesse says to James, I remember that I'll remember you as a great dresser.
And James says, so will I.
Yeah. I just love
Perfect.
that. I just love it.
And then I guess there was a commercial break because we come back and they're already on the other side. So we don't have to see them trying to get across. Although you can imagine Meowth with 4 legs out, 2 on each, and then them being pulled along like they're surfing, on a jet ski or something. Anyway, we can imagine how they got across. My favorite part was, as we used in the opening, the Ash couldn't think of a solution, so he had to get Pikachu to shock him to jolt his brain, and then he's like, I got it. And then they had this great idea, which worked. So I don't think you should try that at home. I do think jumping jacks to get your brain working, that's a good plan. There's a lot of safer things.
A shot of energy.
Yes.
So you can get energy in different ways.
That's right.
You don't have to electrocute yourself.
I know, I don't think you should. But, okay.
Right.
So they have crossed this inferno, which is also kind of your deepest, darkest fears. They've crossed through, gotten to the other side, and now they're ready to cut through the hull.
Yes, and the plan is Charmander is going to burn the hole, weld a hole.
They say weld, but it's
hull.
Really just cutting it. I don't know.
Just burning it. So Charmander's going to burn a hole through the hull, and they're all going to tie themselves to a water Pokemon and swim out.
Yes.
Which I think is a brilliant idea. But I'm also confused because when we cut to the showing all of them tying themselves on, Ash, Misty, and Brock are all using Misty's Pokemon.
That's right.
Oh, no. Ash is using Squirtle. And then the rest of them are using Misty's Pokemon. And I'm not sure why they didn't ask Team Rocket if they had any water Pokemon.
I know, they just swim out.
They just say, okay, let's go. And go, I hope Team Rocket made it.
Right.
But they didn't even check.
No, they didn't look back.
Right. And then Team Rocket are like, wait, we don't have any water Pokemon. What are we going to do?
And James, laughing maniacally, says, I have the solution. And pulls out the magic carp.
King of Carp.
Yes.
The King of Carp.
And we're all so excited until it does nothing. And
literally nothing.
It just flumps around. And the next shot, we see the ship falling further into the depths of the ocean. Very scary, I think.
I know. It's really scary.
Misty, Brock, and Ash, we see them on kind of a floating platform raft type thing, or what can be used as a raft, and looking out going, gosh, what could be taking them so long? And yet,
I hope they made it out.
They did.
And then they say they haven't made it out. So they give them a proper
No.
burial.
First of all, they send Pidgeotto out, as Noah did, to find land. And as Pidgeotto goes, again, shockingly...
Spiro.
Is it Spiro? Oh, yeah, it is. The hair.
I think so, yeah.
Thank
Spiro.
you. Spiro goes out, finds them just like floating in the water there, and brings them back.
Oh, right. Brings them back, and they're unconscious.
On the rafty thing.
Unconscious on the raft, piled on top of each other. Like, it actually reminds me, if anybody played Club Penguin, and well, you wouldn't know, but they have one of the games where you are doing it's ice fishing, and then you catch the fish, and they're all stacked on top of each other.
Yeah.
When you have them out, and they're like really flopped.
Oh.
And it looked exactly like that.
Yeah, they're just...
them piled on top of each other.
And droopy, too. It's just really sad.
Right.
So right away, they jump to that conclusion and go, well, I guess they didn't make it. Let's give them a proper burial. And they start to just push them into the ocean. Push them back.
And luckily that wakes them up.
Yes.
And Team Rocket is still alive.
I know, and they're sitting there talking about that with Magikarp flopping around crazily, which of course makes them all think about how hungry they are and different ways.
So they're sitting on the raft and they all come up with different ways to eat Magikarp.
I know, it's so with those beautiful pictures of how it would look cooked.
And it just flopping around. It's just so crazy.
Crazy and sad.
And then James gets really upset.
Yep.
And he goes, I can't believe I got this stupid thing, blah, blah, blah. And he kicks Magikarp into the water.
That's right. And it evolves right then into Gyarados, which is crazy and beautiful and so Loch Ness Monster at this time, or like all of those sea serpents that you see on those very old maps that are like painted in the corners and all of that. It is really so scary and primal. It's like our primal fears of what could happen to you out in the ocean. And it gets worse because it starts to spin around multiples of it, like we saw last episode, the multiples of the Pokemon, into Dragon Rage and spinning and spinning and spinning and becomes a water cyclone.
So they're trying to escape it. Mm-hmm. And because it's just kind of angry in general. And I guess Gyarados is just angry.
That's right.
And so they're running away. And then
Goldeen, Starmie, and Staryu are pulling the raft along, and they're all paddling. And then the cyclone begins and overtakes them.
And nobody has survived
ever
Dragon Rage before.
Yeah. So
and they get whisked up into the cyclone, and that's the same thing. They're holding on. Ash, Misty, and Brock are holding on to each
Ash
other.
Says, whatever you do, don't let go. Ah! And then they do because they're pulled apart.
I know.
And they're zooping up, and we end the episode there. It's
so
stunning.
Crazy.
I know. So we also don't know where Team Rocket is at this point. But
yeah, we just see them get sucked up.
Yeah, I think. I'm not sure. Well, we'll know next episode.
They go ahead.
Also, just as a tiny side note, I think this is the 40th anniversary of Dungeons and Dragons, which is, these dragons haven't been around in a sense in pop culture, but they started Record of Lodoss War. And then also Slayers, which is one of my favorite animes. But those really had people adventuring like they do on Dungeons and Dragons. And here we have a similar thing, kind of a connection to that, where you've got this dragon-like creature and all of our heroes are trying to find their way out, and they have no dice to roll or anything. They have to do real life ingenuity.
Rolling the dice of life.
Oh, totally. So it's really interesting. That's a wonderful thing. I think Dungeons and Dragons have connected us all in so many different ways that we don't even know, and has been a part of our pop culture and folklore for so long. And here in this episode, it really touches on that. Anyway, it's a crazy episode that leaves us wanting more and to know what happens to our heroes. I think the ship plunging is, I don't know, I couldn't help but think about this, that there's so much going on in the world right now that is not happy. There's so much that challenges us to really keep an open mind and to listen, again, for all of the information and not jump to conclusions and not hastily move toward action that you could regret. And, I think this is kind of emblematic of our times of really learning about everything and thinking before acting.
Totally.
I think, too, don't we see with going back to Misty building that model, you never know what skills you're going to need to use to get you out of a jam or to make life better or to achieve something. So you really need to do everything.
Yeah. Absolutely. All those toy theater models that we've made will really come in handy one day.
One day. I think
you never know.
That, playing sports, reading books, creating your drawings, all of that stuff. I think it's all really important. And this is just a small example of how weird, random skills can really come into play and help you out.
Yeah. I mean, and as a creative, inspiration strikes everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You just never know. So I think in all aspects of your life, you never know what
you're going to need.
What life experience will come in handy.
I know.
Or will inform your choices.
That's so true.
Good to try many different things.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think this is a good time for the Poke Wrap Up,
where we hear from you, the Pokemon community.
We asked you to send in your favorite Pokemon memories, stories, and inspirations.
And here are a few of this week's.
My name is Jeremy. I am from California originally, but now in Miami. And my favorite Pokemon memory is probably growing up with my two older brothers, and we all got the little Game Boy SPs when I was coming up through. And because there's three of us, we could trade and battle each other. So we spent hours upon hours playing Pokemon and battling each other, and then of course watching the show. Squirrel Squad's probably one of my favorite episodes. And yeah, it was that was so much of my formative childhood was playing the games, watching the show, and we get the little guidebooks back before you could look up how to do things in a game on the internet, and you'd have to go through and they would get little cheat sheets of where to find certain Pokemon and stuff. So yeah, I grew up with it. It was much of my formative years, and it's kind of got nostalgia, I feel for everyone, and I love it. So that's my thing. It's how me and my brothers got close together.
So my name's Brendan. I'm a YouTuber. I plays Fortnite. Go by the name Irish Always. And my favourite Pokemon memory, probably back in 2016 or 2017, Pokemon Go was going through the roof. Everybody was playing it. I remember just going on really long walks just to catch the rarest Pokemon I could find.
Hi, my name is Shields. I'm from Ireland, and my favourite Pokemon memory was playing Pokemon Platinum on Nintendo DS.
And a special thanks to Jeremy, Brennan, and Shields for sharing their stories with us today.
And you can check out Trainer's Guide on Instagram or TikTok to see their interviews live.
And we want to hear from all of you.
Email us a short recording or write to us at trainersguidepod@gmail.com.
And try to keep it short, maybe 30 seconds or so we don't have to edit. We really don't want to.
Oh, and please include your first name and where you're from.
Well, that about wraps up today's episode of
The Trainer's Guide.
And, as they say, to be continued. We hope that you continue to join us on this journey that is The Trainer's Guide.
As you know, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Wherever you're listening now.
And if you subscribe, comment, and rate the podcast, it helps others find the show and keeps us on the air.
Thank you so much in advance for your generosity and all of your amazing support.
Trainer's Guide is a production of Boom Integrated.
We are co-executive producing this along with
the amazing Adrian Glover
and the incomparable Robin Lai. I'm your host, Veronica Taylor.
And I'm your host, Rena Taylor.
And this has been The Trainer's Guide. We'll see you out there on the road.